We go. Okay, Darcy is our competition chair, and she's going to go ahead and run the show tonight. So I'll turn it over to Darcy.
Well, I'm actually the co-competition chair, and I would love to thank Debbie and Abstentia. She helped tremendously get tonight together, and Joanne, she's going to be our judge tonight. She is going to at each category tell you, what she's looking for, what makes an image pop in her eyes. She has been around PSA and PAA for a long time. She is, as people would say, she is PSA royalty, and she
Mhm.
has been a mentor for me, and it's just she has a lot to teach people. And sometimes you may not agree with the score, but she explains why she gives you that score. So with no further ado, I am going to share my screen, and we will get this party started. We are starting with uh, pictorial, which is not that. We're starting with pictorial. And Joanne, what are you looking for in pictorial?
This is pictorial color. So one of the very first things is color. Something that is pretty dull or doesn't have something color that pops probably won't do as well as something else that really has substantial color. And then there's all the normal pictorial things from lead-in lines to point of interest to all the standard sorts of stuff. And then, of course, do we have the depth of field that we need for that particular image? How sharp is it? And, just does it draw me personally in? And so that's when, you can disagree because I'm giving you my feelings. So let's start with this one. This was the first one I saw in judging. I think they're in the order that I
That
saw.
you judged them,
Yeah.
correct?
And you can just see how the color, the bright blue, the yellows, the oranges just really pop. And then, of course, when there's something significant or different, like a reflection, that's always those of you who were at the meeting that we held up in Palmdale when Truman Holtzclaw was the speaker, and he talked about the different things. Reflections was one of them that, if you've got a really good reflection that works, that can bring further strength to an image. And usually reflection is darker. And here the sky almost looks as dark at the top, but not totally. But it's so still. Look how very, very still that is, so that now you get, you know, a pristine reflection, which you don't need. But in this case, that adds to our appreciation of how sharp those little twigs and branches are, and how you can almost feel the rocks by looking at them and feel the texture of them. So this is, and look at, there's a lead in coming in on the left that brings us around. We definitely have a nice orange bush that draws our eye into a center, a point of interest. But this is so pleasant and, you know, onward.
She gave it a 9.
Now, here we have a landscape. It's a dull day. Look at the clouds. So there isn't as much color impact, but we do have a rugged landscape, and we can see what humans have done to this landscape and what they were doing to survive, protect themselves, build that barrier. Later on, I'd like to talk more about this, but the definitions that we've been using in and around here, we stopped using travel and having a travel section because it was too difficult to make sure that there'd not been manipulation or that people weren't posed or those sorts of things. Well, now there's two definitions. One is the documentary, where it still has all those things we had before. The other is world in focus. And I think this image would do very well in world in focus because it shows the land and where the people were living, and then the barrier, that they built, the towers and all of that for their protection, and even the holes in the side of the rock. And so it's got quite a story to tell in travel and would do a lot better. It's got the maker has a good depth of field on the front, and the back is more diffuse. And it was just, not the brightest of days. We don't have sun to give us shadows, which would have given us more 3-dimension and the like. But, very, very pleasant.
8.
Ah, yes. And how familiar we are with this wonderful landscape. And here the maker has definitely given us, a great depth of field. So we see all of the in the foreground. Yeah, we've got foreground, midground, and background also. That's another thing that often we would want to look for, not necessary, but is good. And particularly here, you can see all the fronds and the detail in them, and the shades of the color there. So even though this is not as colorful as the first one, you can still see there's color impact here with the blue sky, and then even the tans and the shades of tan as they come down, that variation in color. And then to look off in the distance and see the snow on the mountains. And we've got enough relief there with some of the shadowing so that we can see it clearly.
9.
I love it when folks will crop to the image. So often I'll see images and people just that's the way I took it, whether it was a horizontal or vertical. I took it that way, and maybe I'll take a little bit off here, but instead of looking at and cropping to the image. And here it's not just the waterfall, but then the juxtaposition with the very tall tree on the right. It just really, that frames it. And so, I have no idea. You have no idea just what was off on the sides. The maker knows. But, it could have been all sorts of things that day. And particularly, we don't know exactly where the maker was standing. But look at how significant that crop is in really tying those two items together, the falls and the tree, and giving this impact. We've got great green color, and then we've got that nice little bit of light on the trunk of the tree, and then a very lovely sky for this. Just think, if that had been bright white clouds and blue, it wouldn't be anywhere near as picturesque and perfect for this image as the little wispy clouds over the blue are in this case.
And that was a 9.
And here we have a very diffuse waterfall all over the place. So there's a little sprout, then just coming over the sides of the rocks. And then we've got the lovely spring flowers in the front. So there's our color, because the sky isn't that much. And the maker did a very smart thing here, cropping down so you don't see that much of the sky. So if you've got a bad sky, it's just white, often that's the best thing to do. And that's what the maker did here, is just cropping down. And then to see all the white in there too, in this case, that becomes a color. So there's color impact, and the flowers show a certain delicacy, and you can really almost hear the water coming down over those rocks.
8.
Okay, now we've got a critter. And when we do insects, when we photograph them, we definitely like to get the antenna. And in this case, they're both there. So that's good. It's nice if we can get an eye. It's nice if we can get some legs. And in this case, we see 4 of the 6. We get a little bit of the wing on the right side, but it's not in focus. So there was a very shallow depth of field here. So we do see the antenna, some of the hairs off the back, and some of the piece of wood underneath. Now, take your hand and crop up from the bottom and crop down from the top. And make this like the waterfall, but now horizontal. And look at how much stronger the image is, because you don't need all of that that's out of focus up at the top or out of focus at the bottom. So if you've got a shallow depth of field, you know, one, you can say, gosh, I should have had a little bit more depth of field here, but you can always crop so that then it isn't as obvious that there is that all out of focus area that's not needed at all. But basically it's what lens are you going to use? How far away are you when you're doing insects or flowers? And, you know, in some cases, and some people like to use a macro, there's others who will use a long lens, and it just depends on what you get used to and where you are. And hopefully you've got both and you can decide at the time.
That was a 7. And now I messed up on something. Hold on. I'm going to stop sharing for just a sec.
So you've got to take those lines off.
Yeah.
But thank you for doing that. I didn't know you had that capability. That's nice.
Learning, it's all a learning curve. So we're on 6. Sorry, hold on.
Hi, Vita. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Hi, Joanne.
Nice to see you.
Okay. Can you see my screen and everything? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so here we have a colorful balloon and another in the background and some color in the kayaks and all. So we've got color and an interesting situation, draws you in to look inside that basket and say, what's going on there? We do have a little bit of a reflection. It's, obviously the water is not as still as what we saw before, but we still get that long stripe coming from the balloon. Then, of course, the people up on the bridge. So, the maker had a good depth of field to even get the houses behind and all of that. This is something that also could go into photojournalism category and would probably do well there. And it's a very nice memory.
8.
If we talk about, again, color impact, here we have a relatively plain background, and we do have 3 women with red skirts that do stand out. So we can look at the back of one and the front of the others with masks. This again would do very well in a travel section if you had one, because this is showing what people are wearing and what kind of housing and things like that in an area in the world. Even looking at the gutters down the sides and things like that makes it very detailed for travel. But we're looking at it here pictorially for color. There is a lead-in line that the sidewalk provides and that fence provides. But it doesn't have as much impact as the other. And I wish it was just a tad sharper.
7.
With great color impact with this one. And this is, the kind of sky that if you see it, you run around and say, what can I put in front of this? What can I, do I have a plant? Do I have a this? Because you buy the water, what do you have that might be a shadow or a silhouette or something like that? Here, the maker did have, some of a hill or something off on the right. We can see some lights off in the distance, and we do have a bit of reflection as the waves are coming up. It's a difficult sky to photograph. We get some what do you call it, bumpy areas of the clouds. And they do show up. We've got a separation in the clouds, and the sky, thank goodness the sky is somewhat covered with the clouds, so we don't have that coming right at us. But it's very hard to see then something in the water or other things. We've really got two images, the sky and the water, and the horizon is relatively near the center. And these are things that when you're doing this kind of thing, you might want to, not have it as close to the middle. We do have a bit of light up in the upper right that does draw your eye away from the color that is really what you would want to see.
7.
Often we want to photograph odd numbers, 3, 5, etc. Here we have 2 that are in bloom, and then we have 3 that are not with petals, but that are relatively sharp, and then 1 out of focus. So this is a difficult situation because the depth of field, again, is important and critical. And maybe the maker could have walked in a way so that the bud that's so out of focus in the background wouldn't have been there, or tried to just drop it out altogether. Now, this is pictorial. You can do anything to the image. You can do anything in whatever system you use for your editing. So there's no reason not to just get rid of that bud that's up on the top that is out of focus. And I would encourage this maker to look into that. Even the bright light that is on the back side of the blossom that's on the right, that's so bright. And, all of those adjustments we can do. We've got shadow and highlight. We've got levels. We've got so many things that we can do today. And you can even try sharpening this. This is pictorial. You can make changes.
8.
Isn't this fascinating? So now, again, we're looking at reflections, but we don't even see what's being reflected other than in the reflection. And then we see this wonderful kelpie structure in the front, which we see it coming up, and then it comes to the surface. So we have the pinks and the purples, and then they look back to the green, yellow, browns. And the water itself changes so many colors. There's, kind of the aqua to the teal to the blues in the background. And you can sit and wonder, gee, just what is this? What is it being reflected? What is that tan and brown that is actually being reflected here? So I can see this as that somebody who is, lived near a place like this would really love to have hanging in their, home.
8.
Now we have, a nice action image. This is something that would do very well in photojournalism. It does have color, so there's color impact. They are moving. It's a shame that we don't see their face for a pictorial image, because that's, more what you might want to see. But obviously they're dancing and they're moving and they're looking forward, so you only see the side of their face. The surroundings are good to give an identity of, where they are. It is nice that most of their feet are, I think even all of them, other than maybe the last one, are up in the air. It shows how active they are and how the maker was able to stop most of the action of even the fringe and other things in the outfit.
8.
And here we have a sweet little critter. The feathers are down near the tail are very, nice and sharp. You can see the demarcation between them. As we go up a little bit, they aren't as sharp, but still with the background, it really, they stand out. Now again, here you could crop and then have more bird than background also. You can also darken the background so it's not as bright and taking your eye away from looking at the bird. Nice catch light there. Nice to see how it's hanging on. So, just a few tweaks to darken the background would have probably made this much stronger.
8.
See, we have a theme here. Reflections. We haven't seen that many images, and they're 3 different ones, because one was that pristine reflection in front of a background that we saw the entire thing, then just the reflection. Now here we have just the reflection, and not what is being reflected, but what is out there with it. So 3 very different kinds of reflection. This one has a lot of color. It's a shame that some of the area, if you look at the middle of the bottom where it's just the blue area, it's probably something in the texture of the water that's making those little bubbles. And some of those could be removed so that then you could see the buildings a little clearer and not have the distraction of those little areas in the blue. It's nice that the lily pads are nice and sharp, and that the maker was able to find this location and capture it.
7.
This is just lovely and sweet, delicate, and has a background where here the lighter background doesn't distract so much from it, because it isn't such a contrast, because these themselves look so delicate and translucent, like you're looking right through them. It is a shame that on the left side there is a merge with that one leaf that is just being cropped, and up above there's just a little bit of one. So I would come in a little bit more to lose that little one there, and Darcy, if you go up higher, to lose that space there up above, just to make it look like a purposeful crop or a purposeful end to it, rather than coming just a little bit, because you really wanted a little bit more. But this is very delicate and very peaceful, wistful. I could see this on a greeting card or something.
9.
Dandelion seeds are quite something to photograph, and there are so many people who do them, and you see so many of them that it becomes difficult if you've got one where all of the little seedlings are not all, sharp as a tack. So here we have the sharpness in the middle. Not only are they sharp, but they've got a dark background so that it's easier to see the wisps. But way up at the top, it is, totally blown out. And, even if you were to crop that and just go for the middle part, then you don't see it, and there isn't that much. So really we needed a different depth of field here, and making sure that, it was sharp all the way through for this kind of image.
7.
Thank you. Now we have a landscape where we do have color. It may not be, in your face color, and it does have, as we go off, the more muted tones of the same. Very nice how the maker was able to get the green trees on the side and some of those rocks, and then having that one balanced rock right out on the end is, it's almost like you think, oh, any minute that could go, but a nice capture.
8.
On the edge, yes. This is interesting. I love the candles in the front. It's very difficult to imagine and see just what the maker's trying to convey with the candles that have been, are lying down, and then, what's happening with, as you think of this tunnel, the values, color values of the blue and the yellows does work well together here. But when we've got something that's so symmetrical on the top, and then we have 2 lines of reflected candles coming out, and then the candles themselves aren't exactly, the same, aren't balanced as much. It's just hard to put it together and try to figure out what is being conveyed other than tunnel by candlelight.
7.
Nice wispy curls. And in this case, the diffused background does work. So we can see one layer that is nice and sharp. And then as we go back, we just know that there's more and more of this and it's diffused. Perhaps some of the right-hand side isn't as necessary because that one green piece is not focused. And however, it does make you look more to that main ball of silk.
7.
Lovely evening and lovely time of day. You can hear the quiet in this. I mean, how the maker was able to get this with no people around and nothing else. We get the 3 dimensions of the pier and the roof because you didn't take it, right from the side or from the end, but with a corner. But nice color in the sky. So now this isn't the in your face, bright red, bright green. So color impact can be subtle and soft of a pink and blue together and that sort of thing. And see, this is another image that would do well in travel. You don't know exactly where it is, but this not only has pictorial quality, but you could use it in a world in focus image. Or
8.
This is at night when I look out my window. Yes, the wonderful silhouette here and the silhouette that the ground is providing, then the moon in the distance, and then the striations in the sky as it goes up. Handled very well, where the maker got a nice strong enough background that it can support the dark silhouette. And you can imagine that there was wind. Look at the one on the right. You can see the fronds are moving, and it's probably just a little bit further away and getting a little more wind. And yet the maker was able to get that, handle it just right. And this again is another one that could be a postcard or a greeting card or framed for somebody who lives with palm trees.
9.
Here's a cute little critter and nice and sharp. Even the whiskers are nice and clear, and seeing all the little flakes of snow coming down. But look at how bushy the tail is, and the maker captured even the little hairs in the tail. And a great part of this is the story it's telling with the mouth opened. It's not just holding this and saying, I'm about to eat, but with the mouth opened, it is about to eat. So it's a great story. And, like the position here that there's more in front of the animal, like you want to have in front of a car or a truck or something that could move or is moving. And here, the squirrel would be moving from right to left. And so there's a little bit more space on that side. And the space is handled well. It's not bright. And yet you can see the snowflakes, which don't have to be all that sharp, since our little critter is. Gosh, you can even see all the little tufts off the top of the ears. And there's a catch light. It may not be pinpoint, but you can see a reflection. So, that even adds more to this.
9.
This one was a little difficult to figure out. Figuring old building, you can see the floor is all ripped up and, not sure exactly what this is. Was this a window? Was this some other framework that we're looking through? Unfortunately, it feels tight at the bottom. you know, like you want to look down a little bit more and see maybe the base of that window and maybe where the leg of that chair is. It's nice that the door is parallel to the side, and that we do have the window out, so that gives us a little bit more perspective of just what we are looking at. But I wish there was just a little bit more at the bottom. The orange chair with the blue, they are also tonally very compatible, and make, you know, add more interest to this. And the maker handled well, being able to make it so that you can still see the door in the background.
7.
Oh, I remember in my early days going out to photograph these. Oh yeah. This is a neat way to have something that then finding the background to go behind and have, you know, the mountains just coming there and then the nice sky with the clouds behind it, with it so sharp in the front that it gives a good comparison. And again, the tonal qualities of that blue, the yellow, and the green are all compatible. It doesn't have, you know, the impact that something else might have, but it does have an interest quality. If this has not been manipulated, this would do probably better in a nature competition.
7.
Okay, this is very, very colorful. And the maker has gotten, again, the corner of a building. So it does have great three-dimensional quality. And also there's some shadows at this time of day, and that helps to show off some of the three-dimensional quality. But, you know, having the background and then this wonderful, magnificent cow and person, or cows, right there up front. And, you know, it's not cropped too much. There's enough there to see it. This, again, would do very well in a travel competition, but this does well in color also. It has the color impact and was captured, you know, technically very well.
9.
Now we have the artistic dune, and just how the wind has formed and shaped this, and it has not been, you know, we don't have footprints going through it, and the maker has captured the light, then the dark, then the light, and a little bit of dippity-doo of dark. And then we go off in the background and see all the ruggedness of, you know, they are rock. And so we've got this sand, which we know has moved and is moving and isn't there glued together like mud or anything. And then the hard. So it's a great contrast. It doesn't have that much color impact. It is more of a subtle piece, but the artistic quality of capturing just where that bend came is noted.
8.
And another reflection. Yes, we did have a theme tonight. Didn't send it out to everybody, but you can see some people got the message. And, you know, this is nicely done with the buildings behind, and then the light in the sail, and then the reflection of those sails into it. And the maker did pick up on that with the orange stroke that just ties it all together. I can see that this would be something that if somebody had been there, they would want this as a memory for themselves. And again, this would do very well in travel, in World in Focus.
8.
Okay, this is interesting, and that's a word I try not to use in doing this. Not sure exactly what it is or whatever. We have like almost every color. We definitely got our primary colors, and then we see where some of them have come together, and we got something there. Not that you have to know exactly what something is. If it's, you know, has some kind of impact or is, draws you in. In this case, I'm kind of looking, I think it's something that's like an old cobweb or something that just doesn't look as, pleasant or, attractive or wanting that I would want to look at or would want to, hang up on a wall or something like that. Now, that doesn't mean somebody else wouldn't.
6.
Another landscape with a foreground, midground, and background. Lovely that we get the 3 little lumps off in the distance, and a nice sky that's not only the white clouds, but there's some dark in there. It doesn't have that big oomph of something else. I think that the vertical crop was good because it emphasizes that little S curve that we have in the river, or whatever is inlet from the ocean. And then, we can see the foreground nice and sharp.
7.
And now we have the rocks off in the distance, and another reflection with the sand. And, the sun, when it's bright like that, you usually are looking to, wait till it comes a little lower so that you don't have as much. But there was enough in the sky to filter it out. And it did give us some light beams, but not overly. We've got, some contrails, but they kind of add to this and giving us the bright yellows into the oranges, into the reds, and then into the blues in the water. And the rocks it's almost like the maker placed the rocks in just the right place so that we've got that contrast in the front. And with the light beam coming through right to the sand.
9.
Okay. Another image that would do very well in travel and would do much better there. Here, yes, there's the yellow and the green, but for impact in a pictorial way, this doesn't have as much as, many of the other images we've seen tonight. And so what really is here, look there's very little on the left that you'd want to keep pictorially. You'd really just want, her eyes, what she's wearing, and some of the yellow. But for travel, you would want the other person and you would want to see all of this, and it would do a lot better. But it was well photographed.
8.
And another image that would do well in travel. Nice to see the surrounding. I wish the top wasn't it just cropped off the little nubbin right there, but you can see that the detail in the person's beard, what they're wearing, and, even their hands and their toes. So, you've got a lot of what's going on in this location and, what people wear and what are the remnants of the people before them that are part of the land there.
And that is an 8.
Yeah, this one's fascinating. And it combines, those little wispy silk threads that we saw in an earlier one. But here we have the leaves going out in one direction. So we've got a nice direction coming in from the lower left, coming in. And then we've got the lines going in the other direction. And then we've got the various colors. So we've got some color impact. So it has, many things that are intriguing, make you look around and look around. There isn't one place where your eye stops, one point of interest, but it's fascinating.
And that was an 8.
And
that's the last one in that category. So on to the awards.
And that was the largest category.
Yes, it was. Excellent award, floating fall Mitch Miller, Advanced. Sorry, hold on. I need to move this. Excellence Award Brothers, Greg Lilly, Advanced. Sorry, hold on. Excellence Award Aspen Branch, Santa Fe, Michael Rankowski, Advanced. Excellence Award Moon Over Three Palms, Chris Anderson, Advanced. Excellence Award Squirrels Treat, Jan Lyle, Advanced. Excellence Award, I'll let you guys read that. Sri Lanka, Advanced, Jan Lyle. Excellence Award Harris Beach Sunset, Advanced, Darcy Quimby.
Did you take that during the meeting in Portland?
No, this was my summer travels up in Brookings last summer.
Okay.
Honorable mention Devon Castle, Advanced, Dean Campbell. Honorable mention Moonlight Falls, Advanced, Mitch Miller. Water or Sky, your choice. Honorable mention Greg Lilly, Advanced. Honorable mention Houndstooth, Pictorial Color, Advanced, Brian Vandermark. Honorable mention Kelp with Reflections, Brian Vandermark, Advanced. Honorable mention Ty Watts, Indian Dancers, Advanced, Ty Watts. Honorable mention Mountain Bluebird Boy, Jan Lyle. Honorable mention On the Edge, Mitch Miller. Honorable mention Peace and Calm, Greg Lilly. Honorable mention The Cycle, Chris Anderson. Honorable mention Ty Watts, Junk. Honorable mention Sneaking a Peek, Michael Rankowski. Honorable mention Praying at the Mosque, Michael Rankowski. Honorable mention Overlapping Leaves, Vita Priester. And then we're back to the beginning. Next one is mono. And we have 22 in this one. And
Okay.
this is the second largest category.
Okay, I'll try to go a little faster. When we have a mono image, usually I'm looking for pattern and texture, along with how the black and white was handled. Is there a lot of contrast, or are they subtle mid-tones? And is it appropriate for that image? So here we're looking at a nice silhouette, and then going up to clouds that are handled in a way where we can see some sweepiness and some puffiness and things together. You do have a nice line there with the clouds. Not necessarily a pattern, and you don't really see texture that you can think of. Often with clouds, you can kind of observe something that's a texture.
7.
I'm fascinated with this one, and I think, architecture and minimalism are so in now. And I think the bottom part with the wavy line, and what is almost giving you a woo-hoo with a screen, and then the other line. If there wasn't as much clouds, try putting your hand down and coming down so that there's just a little bit of cloud so that the top portion doesn't go right up to the top.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, so that you take some of that down, then you're looking more at the structure below. And I think that's the strongest part of this. But it's a fascinating capture of a corner.
8.
Oh, yes. I don't know whether this really truly is mono or not, because we can see some brown in the background, and whether this has one single tone, monochrome, one fully toned color. But the rest doesn't necessarily have that much brown, so I'm not sure. But you know, when you're entering something, you want to make sure people are not going to question and are going to know if you've got one, you know, single tone, or just make sure you're staying with black and white. But very nice that we've captured in all of the, yeah, we got something that is our center of interest, and yet we've got a nice dark area to go to.
7.
So beautifully captured with the lines all going in. Here we've got a low horizon, and here, white as it is, it works perfectly because we have the tree without leaves. We're looking right through it. Even though there's one branch off to the side that's not gorgeous, it kind of makes it more interesting. The trees are not smack dab in the center of the image, they're off to the side. We have the subtle tones. So here we don't have stark black, even though we've got a lot of white, but we've got a very pleasant tonality all the way through that is very calming and very artistically done.
9.
And look who we've got looking at us, coming towards us with grasses in his nose and up in the top and some snow. I don't know if brown tones are the best to do buffalo, and you know, even though they do have brown coats, is that what you really want when you're entering a mono competition, or do you want something that is excuse me, either a darker brown tone or black? You know, often you want to actually see the eyes. You can kind of make out where they are, but not, you know, that well. And the depth of field is really just for the head and the horns, and it does not go back through, you know, the hump and all of that.
7.
Mud, canal. I mean, you know, this is difficult to try to figure out just what the maker is trying to share with us. You know, is this something coming from the sea? Is it a waste of some sort or other? Is it a salt bed? You know, you can see some mountains off on the upper left, but it's you know, handled well as far as light and dark. But it doesn't share that much of a story or location and or you know, that kind of thing.
7.
Very pensive look, and the phone, the omnipotent, ever-present phone. You know, she's cute. I don't know if she's actually looking at it or if the maker said, you know, turn your phone a little so that I can see it a little better. Nice that she's got sand in her hand. She's well placed in the frame, and you know, we can see the folds in her clothing and things like that.
7.
love the way the wind is just blowing the sands up off the very top. And it gives you a feeling of presence and what's going on. And even the glow of the light along the very top really sets this off. We've got a lovely line, wavy line leading us up to the top. Just needed one other little thing to really probably set it off.
8.
Yeah. Nice the way the light is on the front, and then we get the reflection. Yes, got the memo again. And even though the water's moving, we can see that very bright spot, which is right in the middle. So at this time of day, well done and good for a monochrome, a good subject that's been used for monochrome.
8.
And this is another good subject. We've got several of them. This one's taller than the others, probably, nicely captured with the one, and then the others drifting off. And it's nice the way the clouds are kind of coming around and even framing it.
7.
This is a little bright. If you look at the wall in front, right in front with this stones, and then off to the right, it's very, very bright. So this could have been handled again in your editing tool to tone down that bright part and give a little bit more texture and relief to those blocks, and not make it so in your face bright, because in comparison with the dark off on the right, that's not as good. You really want to highlight a lot of here, the pattern in the roof lines and in the wood and in the stone, and then get the feeling of the texture of it. So if it wasn't so bright in the middle there, so I think this can be saved, handling the light and dark.
7.
Nice silhouette with the folks in front, and you even see the rods, and it's nice the way the top one does make it and is not cropped off. And then looking out in the distance, doesn't have necessarily that much impact. I think I'm
7.
running out of
Oops,
energy.
Sorry.
That's the first time I've ever said that. That's not me. Yeah. I'll gear up.
7.
Lovely little sides of the cactus. We just worked with somebody who did a portfolio of 10 cactus images in black and white. And the first 6 were horizontals of close-ups. And then the last 4 were like this, of, long, skinny pieces showing the edge. I do think there could have been a little bit better depth of field here to make this, really show off the pattern that there is.
6.
Now doorknobs and other little old pieces do very well in a monochrome competition, because you get the feeling of the old, and whether it's been done in sepia or in black and white, it works. And here the maker found a perfect shadow that just really makes the knob just pop, and then the hole at the bottom, and they've cropped it so beautifully with the white on the left side and then that other little piece on the right. This is definitely competition quality and would do very well.
9.
Lovely pattern. And it's not like the 2 on the left, it's not like the ones on the right are exactly the same. You see the start off at the bottom and then drift off. like the different shades of black through grays in there, and then the one main area that draws your eye in. A nice pattern.
8.
Hard to get the symmetry when photographing, the front or the top, or in this case, both of the inside of a cathedral, and nicely handled with the having sufficient light and yet not too much. We've got a good base, and there is balance on either side, and even the stained glass is not lacking because you don't have the color. It still stands out.
9.
Now we can see the pattern in these little guys, and even areas where there's been some sort of something happened, and it's nice and sharp.
8.
The steps to nowhere, or to someplace. The handrails in the front are very bright, and do need to be handled a little bit, in editing, to tone them down, particularly on the left-hand side. It just blows out that whole side and causes your eye to go over there rather than looking at the pattern that the stairs are providing. Now look at the stroke around it. This gray would probably be better on some of the ones where we've seen a thin white. See how this is a little thicker and gray, and works often very well in monochrome.
7.
And here we see again, but this one's a different time of day, monochrome, and cropped differently. It's neat to see the very, very dark of the trees in the reflection. Oh yeah, the reflection memo, yes. To see that in the reflection, and then to see how light it is at the top. And notice that even in the reflection, we can see some of the clouds that are there that we don't really see as we just look at it. So very, nicely handled.
And this is an 8.
Delicate spider webs are very good in monochrome. It's a shame that this one isn't, whole, and that the bottom part is just kind of hanging. And there's some bright spots at the top that distract from really trying to get it as clear as the parts on the bottom. And some of see how on the bottom right or bottom left corner, some of that could have been just removed.
That's a 7.
Now here we see a really sharp, and yet with depth, and there's a wonderful pattern throughout, and yet you can almost feel the texture here. And the background isn't solid black, but it's enough black to really have this stand out. Nicely done.
And that's a 9.
Yeah. Good night shot, good use of the headlights to illuminate some of the buildings, but also to have the light in one, and then to get the stars. Good balance and all. The maker had to do a fair amount to figure this all out and get it done and handle it correctly. And it's magnificent. And a nice stroke around it that doesn't distract from it.
And that's a 9. Okay, and now for the awards. We have Excellence Award, Trees in Horror Forest, and that's Jan Lyle.
Frost.
Excellence Award, Open Door to History, and that's Chris Anderson. Excellence Award, St. Vitus Cathedral, and that's Dean Campbell. Excellence Award, Frosted Branches, Jan Lyle.
Jan, do you enter us for C?
No,
You should, because we could use, seeing some of these images and, use them in then competitions for the council.
I appreciate you saying that. I'll consider it.
Please.
Thanks.
We'll start up again in October.
Well,
Excellence Award, Joshua Tree Night Patrol, Dean Campbell. Honorable mention, Contrasting Worlds, Vita Priester. I love this Vita.
Yeah.
Honorable mention, Michael Rankowski. Honorable mention, Half Dome Sunset, Dean Campbell. Honorable mention, Sand Abstract number 2, Michael Rankowski. Honorable mention, Cactus Glorious, Vita Priester. Honorable mention, Bishki 1, John Bishki. Honorable mention, Clouds Above Burnt Trees, Sharon Hatley, Intermediate. Honorable mention, Frosty Bison, Robin Watson, Intermediate. And that is it. We're back to the beginning. Now, the next one up is nature. Do we want to take a 5-minute break, or are we still good?
We're going to go.
Okay. And there's 14 in this one and 11 in the next category. So, Joanne, what do you look for in nature?
Nature, you start with the story. What is the nature story? And then how well is that story being told? And then technically, how good is it? So first is the story. And in this case, the story is that wonderful rainbow. And that gives us a story right away. But then also there's erosion, the movement of the waves, and all the rest of that. So, this does have story.
7.
And here the story is looking for and trying to find whatever they're after, and whether they've dropped something, picking it up, or whatever they're doing, and then looking at the landscape around to know what the environment is where this particular action is taking place.
8.
And the story here could be the survival of the plant between rocks, the water coming in between them, but there isn't that significant a nature story. This probably would do better in a pictorial category.
6.
Now we have the story not only of the bird itself, how it's hanging on, the environment around it, but what it has in its mouth and, what it is actually doing. And also then seeing other pieces in front of it. And then you have the environment behind it. So you have a very strong story.
9.
Now we have the story of carrying nest building materials. And, you can see the determination the outlook and making sure I'm going to get there. I'm going to bring this material back to the nest.
8.
And our story here is what the moon looks like. And the fact that another story is the fact that we can now, with cameras that we have, photograph that kind of detail in the moon. And then, of course, having the silhouette below puts it into a perspective of the size of the moon and things like that as it's near the horizon.
9.
Now here we have the story of one animal having something, putting out to feel, to move, to do whatever. The problem here is that we don't have the focus that we really would need. We don't have the back end. I think if we'd had good depth of field, we would have had a complete story and the score would have been higher, because what's happening is good. We just don't, have all of it. The background wouldn't have to be in focus, but the rest of, the legs at the back and things like that would really add to the story.
7.
And here it's hard to see, that we've got one there with something that has died or it was captured. Usually the people who do photograph spiders in their web with a capture have gone in so that that's what almost fills the frame. So it's, it's hard to do that in nature and get the whole story so that you can see it, really up close and personal.
6.
And now there's not movement or action happening, but you can see what it is drawn to, what it's going to be eating or carrying with it or doing something to it. So we can see the environment, and we can also see a story of camouflage, and on and on. So there's a strong story and it's been captured well.
9.
Now we're moving some more nesting materials. Our guy is sharp as a tack, and we can see where they're going through where they are, the landscape, which is probably close to where they live. And that tells even more of the story. And the background does not distract from, seeing the in-flight.
And that's a 9.
We have the story of water coming over rocks, and therefore there's the smoothing of the rocks and all. For nature, you can do many things with stopping the action. You can either stop it as your eye would see it, or you can let it go and have a softer thing, and that is allowed in nature. It makes it more artistic and more something you'd probably put in pictorial. So this story isn't as strong as some of the other stories. Although the moss is good. The moss on the rocks is another story.
And that is an 8.
Okay, we don't really have too much of a story here. A couple of stars in the sky and a cloud. It does look like the tree itself has had problems, either has died of attack of something or something else, but it's not that strong a story, or a story that is easy to see.
And that's a 6.
And we've got these two guys there together. It could be more of a story if either they were doing something together, or either against each other or eating with something. And here the sky is just so bright it's just sucking the life out of the story and all of that, so that you can't really see that much, but there isn't that much of a story. The fact that they're on the top of, a dead trunk doesn't really give that much of a story.
And that's a 6.
Now here we do see, the protective quality, and we do see a new limb coming off. And so we do have that story, but compared to some other stories, it's not. Plants make it's much more difficult to have a good plant story than it does, animal story in a nature competition. It can be, if you've got pollen all over the place or something like that.
And that was a 7. Now that's our last one for nature. And let me give you the awards. We have Finch with Seeds, excellent award, Brian Vandermark. Excellence Award, Peekaboo, I Leave You, Chris Anderson. Excellence Award, Verndine in the Flowers, Vita Priester. Excellence Award, Great Blue Heron with Nesting Materials, Jan Lyle. Excellence Award, Bald Eagle Drinking, Jan Lyle. Honorable mention, Short-Eared Owl with Vole, Jan Lyle. Honorable mention, Tranquil Falls, Brian Vandermark. And then we're back to the beginning. Now our last category is PJ. And Joanne, what are you looking for in PJ?
Well, in photojournalism, we look for capturing the moment, capturing maybe the action of sport or of something like human interest, which used to be a separate category for the club, but now they're combined. So it could be a human interest or, some other moment. And this first one does have human interest because we look for is interaction, unusual, or emotional. And this definitely is an interaction. You can see people looking at each other and, working together or talking and, having an activity together. So it would be human interest. And it's been well captured.
And that's an 8.
This one I wanted to discuss. And this is one that would definitely go in that New World in Focus travel section that I'm suggesting the club start. But these guys, they don't fish on these poles anymore. But some guys who are not making their living or fishing to bring things home to their family go out there in the morning and do this for tourists. And so it is set up for tourists to come and photograph. And we do. And, they make nice images that you can put in color or in World in Focus. But in photojournalism, they are set up. And so therefore it's not real or realistic. So I just wanted to discuss it. Now, some judges may not know that or may not have been there, but I happen to have been there. So that just turns out.
And that's why it got a 5.
Yeah. And here's another. It does show people together taking selfies. And so there is a human interest aspect. In this case, the images or the individuals are not that sharp. And there is the big competition with our big light bulb over on the right. So it's just not technically there.
6.
So, this is another image that would go very well in that World in Focus theme. and just seeing what somebody can do and what they make, handcrafting things, or what they're doing, how they live. That this is a very low stool. She doesn't have shoes on, and that she's making these. There's several of them around. You can see the scraps where she's getting the material and all of that. Those kinds of images do very well in World in Focus.
7.
And here we have sport. And when you're looking at sport action, you look for peak of action. And here, not only are all the hoofs off the ground, but they're going over at that particular point. And you can see how the rider is looking for the next jump and getting prepared. So this is peak of action in sport, which it does well in photojournalism.
9.
Here it's sport again. It's nice to get all the dirt being kicked up behind it. There is some room in front, but this really isn't that sharp. Good thing that they have on an outfit that's pink and all of that, so that you can kind of see it. But technically we don't see it as well as we could, and maybe you'd want to be in just even a little bit closer, and it'd be nice to have a little bit more in front.
7.
A nice monument statue, and seeing how other people or how people are photographing it, or coming up to look at it, admire it. That's also another image that would do well in the World in Focus travel section. We don't see either anything for human interest. We don't see interaction, emotion, or something that's that unusual. So just looking at the monument, you'd more want to have it by itself or with people that would be, praying or something like that, in a photojournalism competition.
7.
This really has a great story of, feeding, dropping the hay off, and you can see the horses are moving, and you can see where they're trying to put the hay off, and you can see the cows eating the hay. So you've got the whole story. You see the plains, and then you see the mountains. So it's a really nice story. Again, this would go very well in travel.
8.
This is definitely photojournalism in that somebody is protesting. Interesting that all the other people are walking by and like they're not interested in the person who's protesting. Nice that she's got a red coat she or he red coat to match the flag, but a protest or something like that, it does do well in photojournalism.
8.
So we've got these monks out doing regular, normal human things, and really just being kids, running around in the rocks. So there's some human interest. They are doing it together, and it is somewhat unusual. But this again would do better in a travel competition.
8.
And here's another travel image. I think a lot of you guys do travel and get a lot of travel images. You can see the things that they've got in the cart, the kid that's hanging on. Unfortunately, this isn't that sharp, so it's lacking technically.
And that was a 6. And now on to the awards. We have Excellence Award, Perfect Synchrony Dean Campbell. Honorable mention, the photographers, Michael Rankowski. Honorable mention, feeding the cattle, Jan Lyle. Honorable mention, spreading the word, Michael Rankowski. Honorable mention, monks at the sea, Jan Lyle. And then we're back to the beginning. And that's it. And I want to thank Joanne for judging. And then we have one more thing to go through, and that is our theme contest. We had first, second, third, and we had 30 entries. So let's go ahead and show you first, second, third, and the rest of the entries. This is Brilliant as a Torch, and that was James Watt. Second place, Reflected Wildflowers, Theta Priester. Third place, Brittle Brush Takes Center Stage, Theta Priester. And now I'll just run through the rest of the slideshow and you can enjoy that. Sorry. And these will be posted on the website by tomorrow morning. So you'll be able to look at the whole thing. And then back to the beginning. So I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And yeah, so I want to thank you, Joanne, for judging. And Craig, if you have anything else to say, that would be great.
Just thank you, everybody, for being here. And Darcy, thank you. You've done an excellent job tonight. And I mean, you are really running the show on the competitions, you and Deborah. So
Deb's a
we
thought.
thank you for that. And
Thank you.
Joanne, thank you so much for being our judge once again. You're a favorite. We love to have you, and we'll have you back again.
Thank you.
And
Please
love-
do think
I
about
love your
entering
description.
S4C as a PSA member club. Anybody in the club can enter. S4C will start up again in October next year. And Darcy can tell you when they are. And right now, the S4C circuit, which is chaired by Lillian Roberts, club member. So it's one entry is entered in 3 different judgings. It's a circuit of 3 salons, 3 exhibitions. So it's a good value for the money. It also has PSA recognition and fiat patronage. So for people who are doing distinctions, that's important. And it closes the end of this month. So please get your entries in. You're supporting S4C, you're supporting Lillian, and you're going to get, hopefully get some acceptances.
Just to follow up on what Joanne was saying, the link is on our News Etc. page. It's right in about the middle of the page there for the S4C exhibition. So that's where you can find it. You can go right into their system there.
And I put it on the club Facebook page yesterday.
And I want to say thank you, Craig, for revamping the website. It looks great. And as some people know, I'm dealing with some personal stuff, so I need to leave. And Craig, don't forget to stop recording.
Here we go.
There we go.
Hugs to you, Darcy.
Thank you.